Hello, my name is Sheila Hill and I'm an intuitive life coach and a spiritual guide. Welcome to my channel. Doing a video today. It is March, as I look at the calendar, March 23rd. And understand that whenever you come across this information, regardless of the date, you've been drawn to it for a reason. So we are all operating on different timelines right now. So don't let the date deter or defer you from watching if you feel drawn that this is something you need to be listening to. So it has come to my attention quite boldly that the masculine template are really struggling right now. This COVID-19 event has created a collective awakening. It's multifaceted. There's a lot going on right now energetically. While we need to remember that we are actually more energetic than we are physical. So because of this event, there has been a lot of global and collective meditation groups, a lot of prayer. Our galactic family of light have been blasting the planet with light codes. The planetary alignment, by coincidence, not so much coincidence, but there's been a lot of planetary movement in the last few days. So there's been a lot of activity in the energies trying to shore up the vibration of the planet during this pandemic. But then there's the pandemic itself that has created a global awakening, and it's created a lot of purging of the denser, more fear-based poverty, scarcity type frequencies within each human vessel to be purged. So what this means is that it is being perceived, and to a certain extent there is a reality to it, that the systems and structures are beginning to break down. The economy is struggling and they're having a lot of trouble shoring that up. In my estimation, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a while before we are able to find our legs again and create a new normal. So where this comes into all of this information around the male template or masculine energy template is struggling is that we need to remember that both males and females in physical form hold both masculine and feminine energies. Now, this video that I'm doing now pairs very, very well with one that I did last year called Living Within the Divine Energies. I'm not going to repeat that teaching. What I'll do is I will post that video link here in the details so that you can watch that either before or after you watch this to give you more of a foundational understanding of how the masculine and feminine energies actually work. So, the current structure of society is heavily based on patriarchal, wounded masculine energies, ways of being. Some may call this the 3D matrix. The wounded masculine energy and patriarchal way of society that has been for hundreds of years is to some extent beginning to crumble and crack. Now, as we move through this ascension process, it will all eventually fall away, allowing for the energy of the new earth, which is predominantly divine feminine energy, which again you will understand if you watch the other video, to move in and take over. So there's the global ascension process that's happening, and it's not going to stop just because we're experiencing a pandemic. As a matter of fact, it's it's taking upon the opportunity of the state of the collective right now to push through some really high vibrational light energy in order to sort of move the ascension process along the timeline a little bit faster. So it's a good thing that's happening, but there are so many balls in the air right now that it can be very confusing and unsettling within yourself as to really understand what's going on. So the ascension process is about moving the globe and all of humanity from a wounded masculine patriarchal way of being and a way of living and a way of doing things through structures and paradigms into a more divine feminine way of being. So this pandemic has created a lot of cracks and crumbles in the infrastructure of what we know society to be. Now we have to remember that the cracks are where the light gets in. So this is a good thing. Is it comfortable? No. And for many people, it's not. Excuse me. And for those of us that are already awakened, we are in tune with our empathic abilities and the fact that we feel a lot. And it makes it even more difficult to untangle that ball of yarn to say, is what I'm feeling today even mine? Or is it collective energy? I'm not used to being like this, but maybe it's mine. I'm not sure. I'm really overwhelmed. I can't figure myself out. And that's all perfectly normal. And while that's happening for the awakened collective, the unawakened collective are also empathic. They are also experiencing overwhelm and feelings and confusion and misunderstandings of who they are and why they're showing up the way they are. So we must try and hold love and compassion for them through doing that for ourselves first. So I'm just referring to my notes as I go along because I can ramble. So what does this mean for the masculine energy template? Well, the masculine energy, the wounded masculine patriarchal energy that has been in society for hundreds of years, is a very egoic structure. Now, I don't mean any judgment or offense to any of my male counterparts, because knowing that the feminines also hold the wounded masculine energy too, we can all be going through this at the same time. I just happen to be very imbalanced right now, so I'm fine. So it's very service to self. It's very forceful energy. It's very powerful hunter-gatherer, protector, provider, manipulative. Could be rash, could be harsh, could be forceful. Those are the types of characteristics that go with the wounded masculine energy. And that masculine energy is highly anchored and tied into the old matrix overlay of what's happening in society. So as this cracks and crumbles, it causes those energies within the male body or the female body to move to the surface to be purged. So this purging can be, because it's very dense and sort of what some would consider negative emotions of anger, fear, sadness, rage, depression, hopelessness, it can be very dark and it can be heavy and it can be dense. So as the light is coming in globally and through the collective, but also individually and at a cellular level, as the light comes in, it disrupts the darkness and causes the darkness to come to the surface. As the darkness comes to the surface, it eclipses your own internal light. This is what's called the dark night of the soul. So if you haven't already been aware of it or read about it, this is another learning opportunity for you to do some Googling and some reading around the characteristics of the dark night of the soul. It's a perfectly healthy and unfortunate part of the spiritual awakening journey. So, the dark night of the soul, as I explained, can be frustration, rage, sadness, teariness, depression, hopelessness. That's all normal, and it's a purge of these old energetic templates. Unfortunately, I'd love to be able to tell you it's a one and done, and it's not. It's going to come up and come off in layers. So what I would like to do is to give you some tools and tricks and tips on how to manage it and how to better understand what it is that you're going through, or perhaps one of your partners or your children. I know in my case, I have a 17-year-old son who is very awakened, and he's been kind of testy the last couple of days. And I'm a human mom and I'm a spiritual mom, so I'm kind of navigating this space with him. And he finally said to me last night, he said, "Mom, I don't know what happened." He said, "I feel like my awakening came on even more strongly a couple of weeks ago. I felt like I was so in my light. I was so grounded. I was such at peace inside." He said, "In the last few days, I just feel like I want to rip somebody's head off." So I'm living with someone who I'm supporting through this space. So whether this is for you because you're going through it, or whether this is for someone that you are in interaction with, I'm going to provide you with some deeper understanding. So as these deeper energies, this density sort of bubbles to the surface and comes out to be expressed, we need to remember that it's just energy. That's all it is. It doesn't need to be judged. It doesn't need to be looked at. It doesn't need to be healed. It doesn't need to be journaled about. Although some of those regular practices, spiritual practices of meditation and journaling and quiet, can be helpful in navigating the space, one way or the other, you have been triggered into a purge, and the purge just has to be allowed to happen in whatever way it finds its way out of you. And know that in a couple of hours or a couple of days or a couple of weeks, you will feel much, much better and not even really understand what you've just been through. So I can't impress upon you enough that you are not broken, that you didn't do anything wrong, and that despite how terrible you may be feeling right now, this is for your best and highest good. Because as the density leaves, more light can come in. Now, the next piece that happens is that as the density starts to come up to be released, the ego mind clues into the fact that there is discord within the body. And then it tries to attach a story to it. So, what that might look like as an example is perhaps rage is what's coming to the surface. So all of these energetic bubbles of rage are bubbling up to the surface to be purged, to be released, so that more light can come in. And the mind goes, wow, I'm really feeling rage within the body right now. Who am I mad at? And then it goes about making up a story to justify why the feeling is there. Now, it might pick on a spouse or a sibling. It may pick on the fact that they're homebound right now because of the pandemic. It may pick on a past story that your mind hasn't quite let go of yet, just to create a loop of justification as to why you feel the way you do. I'm angry. Why am I angry? Who am I angry at? Oh, I'm mad at her. Oh yeah, I always got mad at her. She always screwed me around. Whatever that story is. So one thing that we really try and do when we are purging, and I understand, I've been there many times, that it's not always easy to do this, but try not to engage in any kind of a story. If you can, at any point, I mean, hopefully it would be an every now moment, but again, let's be realistic. If you can, try and hold the higher perspective on a shelf real nearby that just says, I am purging dark energy. This is hard, but I am not going to engage in it. The less resistance that you put on this, the quicker it will go. Now, what does resistance look like? Well, resistance could be a story that you're now attaching the way you feel to some outer thing, person, experience, and you're just looping. That's resistance. Going into self-judgment is also resistance. What the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I just be nice? I know better than this. All of those sort of disempowering thoughts and judgmental thoughts that you could have about yourself, that's also going to create resistance within the body from just allowing the energy to purge out. Trying to spiritual bypass during this situation is probably also not advisable. You can try, dip your toe into some of your spiritual practices, your crystals, your oils, your meditation, your mantras, your affirmations, perhaps journaling or reading, whatever your spiritual toolbox has in it. By all means, dip your toe in and see if you can't curtail maybe the depth and severity of this purge. But if it doesn't work, don't push it. I know from many experiences of the dark night of the soul that if that is exactly what it is you are going through right now, in those moments, spirituality and all that goes with it can go fly a kite. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to be spiritual. It doesn't mean that you are not a divine being having a human experience. It just means that that medicine, so to speak, does not fit the ailment that you are in that moment. So understand that that might not be your fix. What might well be your fix is sleep, lots of sleep. It could be just zoning out to a movie. It could be eating junk food. It could be journaling. It could be allowing yourself the space to cry. It could be going for a drive. Sleep is actually the best one because in the sleep state, you are in the least amount of resistance that you can possibly be in. And it allows the energies to shift. It allows your guides to work on your energy field and help you move the density through quicker. And for those of you that are star seeds, you may be going home during sleep state to be, rebooted. So sleep is best. If you can't sleep, then just zone out. Try not to engage in how you feel with any particular thought loops or stories. And if you are experiencing rage and you can't seem to find that peace even enough to sleep or to just watch Netflix for days on end, then remember that what you're purging right now is a very masculine laced template. Those are very masculine type energies, and they need to be released by some kind of masculine portal. They need an exit point. So what could that look like? Well, maybe a kickboxing class, or if you have a bag hanging in your basement or something, some form of weightlifting, going for a run, just physical exertion to help move the energy out of your body. Now, for the people that are supporting the masculines that are going through this, please don't push them to talk. Masculines, on the most part, don't like or have the capacity to hold so many words, particularly when they're in this state. So don't ask them to talk. Hold space for them. If they want to talk, just listen and hold space for them to just vomit up whatever story their mind is currently running in that moment. Give them space. Don't expect them to engage with you or the family in the ways that they normally do. Men really need to be in their cave during this time. And this could also be, as I said at the beginning of this video, something that you as a female incarnate could be going through too. I've been through all and both in every one of these scenarios, so I know intimately what it feels like and sort of navigated some ideas and tips and tricks as to what works best. The bottom line is, no matter what you are feeling, no matter what you are struggling with right now, no matter how dark or heavy this feels, please remember who you are. Remember that you are a divine being of light, that you are having a human experience, and that it can be very challenging. It can be hard. And it doesn't make you any less awakened. It doesn't make you any less divine. It doesn't make you any less worthy of love because you're being challenged through this right now. Many, many of you will be clearing for the collective as well as your own inner density. And if it really doesn't resonate to you that sort of the wounded masculine patriarchal stereotype is characteristic of who you are or how you normally present, you could still be going through this because you've had it in past lives and it needs to be cleared, or you could have it in your ancestral line. So maybe your dad or your dad's dad or your uncles, or, it can go that way too. We are the human incarnate here on the ground, boots on the ground, here to ascend, and we are doing it for everyone, for our families, for our ancestors, and for the collective. It's a massive job, and this COVID-19 pandemic has triggered a lot of stuff on a lot of different levels that some may be feeling they're not quite prepared for, but know that you signed up to be here, and you designed your life experience based on these types of events. You are stronger than you think. If you need more guidance and support, please reach out to me. Whether you are someone supporting their masculine through this, or whether you're struggling and finding that you are trying to go through this yourself and you feel that you're at the deeper end of things than you'd like to be, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help and support you. Otherwise, just know that you are loved, that you are deeply held, and that you are going to get through this. Until next time, my love to you all. Bye for now.